All right, everybody, it's Friday, and welcome to the picks. Those of you that took my picks last week, I do certainly apologize. It was not my best effort. I went 2-3, my first ever losing week since I started this stretch, so I do apologize for that. But to be fair, I did hit the big one. I did hit LSU versus Alabama. What did I tell you? Alabama has a problem putting it in the end zone from short range, and they did. LSU would get tight. Alabama would get tight later on in the game. They didn't, but only because they found a running game. Tua got tight. Running game, different story. LSU found a running game, which was amazing. But yes, I did predict LSU to win. Those of you that believe me, count your money. Nice job. Did miss the other game just because, to tell you the truth, I didn't have much faith in Minnesota. I was wrong. I also didn't see Penn State throwing 3 interceptions. So, yeah, that's on me. So I went one-on-one in college. In the pro game, yes, Minnesota, Dallas, I blew it. Seattle, Niners, I blew it. Did hit the other one, though, so what are you going to do? Even though I probably should have lost that one because the Panthers kind of got robbed, to be quite honest with you. Put a skirt on a quarterback's one thing, but good Lord, are they protecting Aaron Rodgers? That is some bull. But still, irregardless. Like I said, I went 2-3. I'm 15-5 on the year. Still better than most. Just gonna say it. This week we do actually have a UFC Fight Night card. Kind of interesting, to be quite honest with you. And if you look up and down the card, there's a lot of names fighting up and comers on this one. Fighters that's been around for a while versus those trying to kind of bump up in that. But I tell you, third from the bottom. Renan Barão. Yes, still fighting. I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh my goodness, I thought he was done. 5 short years ago, he was the killer, the man that nobody could stop. Came out of nowhere, just slaughtering everybody. Beat the snot out of Uriah Faber. Loses to Dillashaw, comes back, loses to Dillashaw again, loses to Stevens, and then drops off the planet. It's amazing. This dude is 34-8 overall, and he is 2-7 since the Dillashaw fight. That man, I have never seen somebody on a 4-game streak in the UFC, all losses. She literally got knocked out the last fight. He did lose 4 straight decisions. But you talk about falling off a cliff. And he's not like he's getting put up against like nobodies. Not like he's getting put up against somebody's just to kind of get him over his name, kind of like Shogun Rua. But it is incredible how much he's just fallen off a cliff. 2-7 coming off a title fight. My lord. But there are some other good fighter. Bobby Green's on this card. You go a little bit up the card though. It's kind of interesting. You got James Krause is fighting on it. You got Ricardo Ramos is fighting on it. You got Charles Oliveira's fighting on it. Shogun Rua is fighting on it. None of these guys are fighting each other though, which is always fun. But our main event, you got Jacare moving up to light heavyweight versus the Bear Jew, just kind of funny. Jacare knows he's not getting a middleweight title shot. It's not happening for him. He's going up to that wafer thin light heavyweight division. He's taking on a top 10 guy. 2 fights. He could be start hollering at John Jones. That's going to be interesting. If he can get past Bear Jew, I think he can. Tell you the truth. Because to tell you the truth, Jacare's got a good chin. He's always had a good chin. He's also got a really dangerous ground game. And I think if he can avoid taking damage early, and I think if he can get it on the ground, I think he's got a solid shot pulling out the victory. It's going to be interesting. Just because the Bear Jew is not exactly a slouch on the ground. He's got a very good submission game. I think that works in Jacare's favor because he's going to be more than willing to go to the ground. He's going to be more than happy, if his punches are getting slipped, if he's not doing any damage there. I think he's going to be more than willing just to say, okay, we'll go to the ground and see what you got. I got no problem with this. He's bigger than most guys Jacare's fought. He's probably stronger than a lot of guys Jacare's fought. But Jacare is just so good on the ground. And he's so relentless. And he doesn't really take a whole lot of chances. He's very methodical. I think I am taking Jacare by decision, just because I think he's going to look like he's going to take more advantageous positions. He's going to look like he's more in control. He's going to be more dangerous, which is kind of interesting because, again, Bear Juice coming off that Luke Rockhold victory. Yet another middleweight jumping up to light heavyweight trying to take advantage of that division. I don't think either one of these guys are going to have close to fighting John Jones. But I mean, with a good, convincing victory, maybe he's 2 fights away. To tell you the truth, I'm kind of more interested in the Shogun fight. But like I said, I didn't pick any UFC fights. I'm going to pick one this week. That's probably the best one. Tell you the truth, next week's fights don't really get any better. But I do kind of like I said, I do kind of like it coming up. Even though, like I said, I'm really interested in seeing Stefan Struve next week. But still, that's neither here nor there. But that's your one MMA pick, so some of y'all can kind of go back to ignoring me now. Over to the NFL, I'll kind of look at those games first. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Indianapolis Colts. This one's going to be really interesting because Nick Foles is back for Jacksonville, which would be really, really interesting if it wasn't for the fact that Brissett's back for the Colts. And to tell you the truth, Brissett's actually done more for the Colts than Nick Foles has done for the Jaguars. I do think this is a really interesting fight. It could very well be almost a loser leaves towns for the playoffs because nobody's catching Houston, which will come back to them. But this is kind of like one of these two is actually going to get closer to the playoffs. Both of these are going to be somewhat in line to get one of them playoff spots because, it's time to start looking at wildcard pictures to tell you the truth. But I think Jacoby Brissett, I tell you the truth, I like him better as a quarterback over either one of the Jacksonville quarterbacks. I think their defense is playing better. I think their line's definitely a better situation. I would like to see either one of these teams get a running game, to tell you the truth. Neither one's exactly a punch it in type offense. But the Colts do much better against the run. And I think that's going to make Nick Foles try to beat them. And I don't think Nick Foles is going to be, in his first game back, able to put together enough drives to actually win. And the Jaguars mentally, they're just too up and down. They bounce around too much. They have a good performance, they have a bad performance, they have a good performance, they have a bad performance. They're kind of due for yet another bad performance, even though Houston shellacked them last week. But like I said, they've had a whole week to think about it, coming off that bye, but I'm taking the Colts. Our main event game is Baltimore versus Houston. Now, as I must admit, every time I predicted Deshaun Watson to be an awesome quarterback, and he is. I am looking for Houston to take this game. I really am. I love Houston in this game. Baltimore has got all the press. They've got all the love. Lamar Jackson, even on this week's NFL Roundtable up on the website, is he the odds-on favorite for the MVP? He very well might. He is putting together a monster season. But the Texans have a hungry defense. They've got a decent secondary. I do think that they are used to a running quarterback. They see him, again, I keep coming back to this. You see him every day in practice. Houston is coming off a fairly good stretch. They seem to be one of them teams that's snake bitten. I don't think they're very well coached, but they do get up for the big games. They don't make the simple mistakes that they shouldn't. I like Houston in this game. It's more of a heart pick than a head pick, just because Minnesota should beat them on paper. Baltimore. I don't want to keep saying Minnesota. Baltimore could probably because Minnesota maybe looked bad last week. Baltimore should beat them based on paper, based on talent, based on coaching. But I think coming off that Patriots win, I think they're going to be riding high a little too high. And I think Houston's got enough talent, got enough drive, got enough of a defensive push that they're going to make them uncomfortable. And I think they're going to slog it out. And I like Houston. And for once, I'm actually going to look at the college games last. Our big, huge, not a whole lot of top 25 matchups, not going to lie to you. I am highly disappointed Notre Dame's their second longest home sellout streak is going to come to an end, which I find disgusting, to tell you the truth. There's no reason whatsoever for a top 25 college team to ever not sell out. They have sold out Notre Dame Stadium basically since I've been alive. It's disgusting. And they're making claims that it's because they're having 3 home games in a month. That's still inexcusable. It's inexcusable not to sell out. If you're a top 25 program, you should sell out each and every game. And to not is just disgusting. It's sad. And they're doing it against a ranked team, too. It's not like they're playing Southwest Idaho Tech. I mean, they've got Navy coming in this far after Veterans Day. There's absolutely no reason you can't find 60,000 people in Indiana to go to this game. Steve Hall, what's wrong with your state, man? Come on. But still, that's just my own personal call on it. I mean, it's a joke. Other games you could look at, trying to find me a second college game to talk about because we all know what we're here for. The big thing is, I wish Wake Forest hadn't lost last week because that would make Clemson look even better. I don't care. Clemson's still winning that game. I think they've had their one hiccup against North Carolina. I still think they're going to come back and win it. LSU, ranked number 1, slaughtered everybody. Ole Miss is not going to exactly come up to them. But one game that we can talk about, like I said, just to kind of pick something extra to look at. Again, we got to look to the South to have good, better games here, I guess you could say. We've got number 13 Baylor against number 10 Oklahoma. That could get very interesting, to say the least. We'll say there is Oklahoma Baylor. There is no respect to Baylor here. They are undefeated. They are getting no respect whatsoever. They're the undefeated team. They're the team that's got the really good defense. They're the team, but yet they are like a 71% underdog. They're favored by less than 10. Oklahoma's favored by 10 points. And it all comes down to Baylor hasn't seen a quarterback like Jalen Hurts before. And they are just going to take a look at Baylor's defense, that nice quality defense, and they are going to tear it apart. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to even get slowed down in this game. The only thing that really is going to slow them down is if they're able to make this into a track meet. Oklahoma very well can get pulled into a track meet. You can score on that defense, but are they going to be able to score enough to keep out Oklahoma honest, where Oklahoma's just not going to be able to just keep beating on them and dinking and diving, stretch runs, etc. and so forth. But I don't think they can. So, yeah, I'm going to follow the masses, I guess you could say. I'm going to take Oklahoma fairly easily. Our big game of the week, the one everybody cares about, is going to be Florida versus Auburn. I know Alabama's really interested in this game because they really need Alabama to win. And pretty much everybody in the East is hoping that somebody in the East can actually stand up to these West powerhouses and do something. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game pulls out. I think this game comes down to 2 things, though. Auburn's offensive line and Auburn's defense. Part of the reason why the SEC West is the SEC West is because there's talent all over the defensive side of that ball. And you just don't have that in the East. I'm sorry. Florida's a great team and all that. But Tennessee, South Carolina, none of these teams can really play in the SEC West. And that's where you're going to really run into a problem. Florida can kind of hang with them somewhat. I do look at it being a good game early. But I think late, Auburn's offensive line is just going to keep pushing forward. I don't think they're really going to be able to get to the quarterback. He's going to start creating running games or running lanes. And I just have a major problem thinking Florida's going to hang with them late. Florida does have offensive firepower, but it's nothing Auburn hasn't seen. Nothing Auburn doesn't see year in and year out, to tell you the truth. But, yeah, I hate to say it, but the West is going to show dominance once again. And I'm taking them fairly easily, tell you the truth. I think halftime is going to be a fairly close score, but after that, it's going to be all Tigers once again. So that's my 5 picks for the weekend. Y'all enjoy, and I will see y'all Wednesday. Promise.